How can you expect yourself to enjoy life when the most enjoyment that you get is literally through a screen? The only time you feel yourself actually enjoying yourself, actually caught up in the moment, losing track of time, is when you are looking at other people experience their life through a screen on ultimately a lot of times a phone. So in this video, I want to help you with that. I want to help you stop doom scrolling. I want to help you find things in life that you actually enjoy, and I ultimately want to help you find you. So this is part 2 in hobbies that you can try. And disclaimer, if you haven't watched part 1 yet, I definitely recommend to watch it. But also, one thing I want you to understand with hobbies, they're not supposed to be things that you are perfect at. They are not always supposed to be things that you necessarily have to sell. They're not supposed to be things that, you feel like you have to be the best at. They're literally supposed to be things that you just want to pick up and do. They're supposed to be things when you feel like you're bored and you want to do. And a hobby also is not something that you have to do every single day. Too many people be like, oh, I want to make this a hobby, but I can only do it once a week, or I can only do it 2 times a week. That's why it's hobbies and not a hobby. There are some hobbies that are literally seasonal. There are certain things, if you live in a place where it gets cold, you cannot hike all year round. If you live in certain places, there's just certain, you can't, surf all year round. The whole point around it is that you can build different hobbies. Some you can do 3 times a week, some you could do 1 time a week, some you could do once a season, once a month. But the whole thing around it is I want you to find things in life that you actually enjoy to do that is not being on your phone. So let's get started. So the first one is making perfume. And I actually got this idea from someone who commented on my previous video, and I feel like this one is great. I actually want to start doing this myself because a little while ago, I actually stopped wearing perfume and purchasing it. It's a long story going into that, so I'm not really going to explain it too much. But long story short, a lot of perfumes just have a lot of chemicals inside of them that can cause hormonal imbalances. So it can cause, especially for women, to have more severe periods. It can cause hormonal acne, just a lot of stuff. So I've taken a lot of fragrances out of a lot of things. I don't really use fragrance detergent and stuff like that has a lot of chemicals in it, especially Tide. That detergent is like not really good for you. Even with certain things that I buy chemicals inside of my house, I try to take out fragrances because to create those fragrances, a lot of times they put a lot of chemicals. So long story short, I thought that making my own perfume would be great. Using essential oils, using things that I know where they came from and where they're sourced from can be great. And I think another thing about it too, it's often finding your own, because I feel like it's so easy. Like, I don't know if you've ever had someone wear a perfume around you and you're like, oh my gosh, it smells so good. And then you tried it yourself and it just didn't smell the same. It's not that it didn't smell good, but it just doesn't smell the same. One reason for that is that we all have pheromones on our body. Like, our bodies just have a natural scent, a natural smell to it. So someone else's smell can be more compatible with something, and someone else, it just doesn't smell particularly right. So I feel like it's a great way as well to kind of just get into figuring out like what kind of goes good with your pheromones, what kind of like goes good for you, and then making your own. Because it's one thing to always be like, dang, it's a scent that I want, but I just don't know what it is. And then you go to the store, you smell all these different scents, and it's like, well, what if you can make your own? So I feel like that's a great thing to do, and that will take a decent amount of time. Another one that I often recommend too is making candles. So this is another one, going back into the fragrances, that I no longer purchase a lot of candles anymore. I'm very strict with like what kind of materials they use to make the candles, kind of oils and stuff they use to make the candles, because going back into the fragrances and stuff like that I'm just like, now they trigger me, which is so crazy. They now trigger me because I keep them out of my home. So now a lot, like if someone is wearing a lot of perfume, before it wouldn't really bother me, but now it literally like itches my throat, it itches like my nose, because my body's just not used to those chemicals as much. Long story short, getting into candle making is something that I want to do as well, because going off of just smelling good, I also want my home to smell good. And so I think definitely candle making is good as well. Like I said, it's something that's going to take a certain amount of time. And then I also think this is great for seasonality. I mean, it could also be good for fragrances as well, but for the seasons, I feel like it's great. Like during the winter time, you want your house to smell a certain way. During the summertime, you want your house to smell a certain way. So I think that's another great thing to do, and just start perfecting it and just getting your home and just yourself to just, I don't know, be cohesive. And just, it's kind of like when you have the body butter for something, and then you have the exfoliator for something, and then you have the lotion for something, and it's like they're all cohesive and they all go together. That's how I kind of look at it. So I definitely recommend to start making your own candles. And disclaimer, going off of this as well, that can also be a great gift. So also doesn't always have to be for yourself. It could be something that's a great gift for someone. Like, I made this candle for you. And I feel like that's just really nice and intimate. Next one is making flower bouquets. I feel like this one is great. One thing I definitely said I want to start doing in my house is just on my kitchen island, having every single week or every other week having just flowers. Like, I think flowers in the house are really great. I think it brings a little bit of color into the area. And then I also think it's just great to have flowers inside of the house. The smell, just, I don't know. I feel like it's just so feminine and just cute. And so I think one thing to do is start making your own flower bouquets. Like, start going out to stores that sell flowers and then grabbing this flower and grabbing that flower and just making something that is like personalized. I feel like it is so easy to just buy an already made flower bouquet, but I feel like that's something that you can do for a little hobby, like once a week or so. Go like to Michael's or even online on Amazon, get yourself a cute little vase, and then every single week, like, create your own flower bouquet. I don't know. I just feel like that's so creative, and I just feel like it's something that that's just so cute and feminine. I already said that I wanted to start, and I definitely see them all the time. Like, I'm like, oh my gosh, that's such a cute bouquet, and that's so cute, and that's so cute. But it's like, girl, you can make those yourself and personalize it exactly the way you want it to be. The next one is making music. And I know some people are gonna be like, girl, I do not want to be a singer. I do not want to be a rapper. Like, how is this supposed to be a hobby? If you do it correctly, I think it can be very therapeutic and a very creative expression for a lot of people. And I recently started doing this. I've always kind of been like music, into like poems and stuff like that. But I've actually seen the benefit of having it as a hobby on a creative type tip, because recently I started rapping or I'm more so singing, I'm gonna lie, singing what I was going through. Like, it's real easy for me just to do random stuff, just in a car, like, oh, red car is looking like a star. Let's see how far it's about to go. Like, you get what I'm saying? I could do random stuff like that. But I recently started a few weeks ago thinking about things that I was really going through and putting it into like a song. And my preference is like a SZA type, Mariah Scientist type beat. And I'll put on those, find one that I like, and literally start singing about how do I feel. And it's really gotten to the point where, and this is why I really brought it up, I've literally cried 2 times because I was talking about something that I was going through. And I think oftentimes when we're going through something, we often don't go in depth with it for multiple reasons. Like, for example, one of the things I started crying about was my relationship with my dad. And being the oldest, I've realized that I've taken on this armor of just feeling like, well, that's just life. Like, everybody's life isn't perfect and everybody doesn't have a dad and everybody, like, it's just whatever. But after, like, I made this song and I was just talking about my dad's relationship, and I'm like, yeah, he wasn't there, and I'm singing whatever. And then I really start going into it and I'm like, but I wanted him to be. But I feel like I lack having emotional attachment to men that I'm romantically with because I didn't have a dad in my life. I feel like I don't know how a man is supposed to treat me because I didn't have a dad in my life. I feel like I didn't deserve not to have a dad in my life. I felt like, but these were things that I think I kind of obviously felt on a very surface level, but I never really went into because I felt bad. I felt like, dang, well, if I have a dad, am I taking that away from my siblings? If I had a dad, like, would I not be as strong as I am today because I have it? Like, it was just so many emotions that I never really acknowledged, and just allowing myself to create creatively. And like I said at the beginning of the video, you don't have to be good at a hobby. Just do it. Like, and it's like, I'm by myself. I can say what I want. And then another time too, we're not gonna go into everything, but I just got emotional a different time too, talking about another topic that happened in my life. And I feel like for some people, maybe journaling is not necessarily your thing. Maybe some people, writing down your emotions is not necessarily your thing. But I think for some people, being able to creatively just say what you're going through, and that's, in my opinion, how good music is created. Like, when you really can relate to an artist and what you're going through, that's music that people really like. And it's like, you can do that for yourself. Obviously, it's not going to be for everyone. And it's going to take time, because the first time, you're going to say dumb stuff. It's not going to rhyme. But think about what I said. A hobby does not have to be perfect. Some of the stuff isn't going to rhyme. Some of the stuff isn't going to make sense. But as long as you feel it, as long as you know where you're coming from, I think this is something that could be a great hobby. And especially if you record it. And it is not something that people need to hear when you need to release it, mixtape coming out. Literally, you can just have voice memos in your phone. And that can be your definition of like a journal and just expressing yourself. And I think a lot of people start touching into things that they didn't even realize they were going through, because it's like, you never just found a way to express those things. No, I say that to say. So I definitely recommend start making music. And if I create the next pop star, R&B star from this video, just give me my credit. That's all I want, to give my credit. So that's a good one. The next one is volunteering. I think when a lot of people hear volunteering, they're like, oh my gosh, I gotta go to like a homeless shelter. Oh my gosh, I have to go to like something that they may not see as being beneficial for themselves. And I've actually talked about this on another video. When it comes to volunteering, I think it can be a two-way street. It does not have to be a thing of you just being like, oh my gosh, well, I have to give, give, give. It can be something that you can get back from. And even myself, like I've looked into like volunteering things, and even going into like a social media tip, there's been internships that individuals have had. There have been events that have, more so in the creative space that individuals have had that they've needed volunteers for. So I think a lot of people too, a good hobby can be volunteering. It's so easy to say that I want to do this and I want to get into that, especially when it comes to your career or it comes to things that you want to do. And it's like you feel like, but I got to jump in, but I got to have a full-time this, but I have to have the full-time job and all this other stuff, and I have to get paid. And it's like, no, volunteer places. You can be in certain places and spaces and you don't have to be the head person. You don't have to be the person talking on stage. You don't have to be the person showing their art. You don't even have to be the person recording, but maybe you can be the person that's there giving out t-shirts. Maybe you can be the person that's there being the assistant to the person that's recording. And a lot of times people need volunteers, but I think people also don't do volunteering because like they don't get paid for it. But one thing I've also learned in life, some of the things that bring you the most enjoyment oftentimes can be priceless. I feel like when you start putting a price on stuff, that's when you be looking at the time, okay, like when I'm gonna leave, or I'm getting paid so-and-so amount, or is this even worth it? When you do something intentionally because you're like, I really just want to do this thing, I really just want to be in these places and spaces, then you feel like less of a like, I don't know, you look at more so what are you getting back from doing that thing than what are you getting back from necessarily a monetary value. Like, is this worth it? Is that worth it? Because like if you're doing it for free, you think being there is worth it for you. And I think that's something that a lot of people can look into. Now, disclaimer, if you do want to go to homeless shelters and dog parks and stuff like that and volunteer, that's great as well. But I wanted to mention doing things that you want to do because I feel like that's one that people think is not a correlation when it comes to volunteering, and it definitely is. The next one is couponing. I don't know if you guys remember the show that was on TLC, Extreme Couponer. I used to love that show growing up because it used to just be so interesting. Like they really used to be like, okay, your total is $567, and that lady will bring out that binder and be like, whoosh, 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 and then it will be like, okay, your total is $10.12. Like, I don't know. I think that was so interesting. And also, with today's economy, I feel like that's something that a lot of people can start doing. I actually had a friend who mom used to do couponing, and I asked her to like teach me how to do it and like how to get into it, but I was younger and I think she thought I was kidding, but like no, I was so serious. Like I really wanted to learn. And I don't, now I'm gonna be honest with you, I don't necessarily have the time to do it. I try to do it here and there with like the apps and stuff that I have, but just literally sitting down and how they had the binders or sitting down and being intentional about it, I personally don't have the time to do it, but I think a lot of individuals may. Like, I think that's something that definitely will save you money. Definitely, because everybody's always complaining. Egg prices is this, gas prices is that. And don't get me wrong, I complain myself. But a lot of times too, it be money on the table. It be, you get what I'm saying, things that you can do to help that. So I think couponing for some people is good. And I know some people who like do it and it's literally their hobby. Like they'll sometimes put on music in the background, or they'll do, put on a TV show possibly in the background, or whatever the case may be, and they're literally couponing and they just really enjoy to do it. So definitely look into doing that one. The next one is hosting, especially if you have like your own place or anything like that, or possibly even if you share it. Hosting is something I want to get into as well. I think this one is great because it creates a entire experience for more than just you. Hobbies are great for yourself, but they're also great when you can, invite in other individuals or just curate something to be the way you want it to be. So I think hosting is really great as well, and just doing things intentionally. I've had a few things at my place, but I feel like they weren't really intentional. They were just like, okay, we're gonna have a Galentine, or we're gonna have this, and then I'll buy little balloons and I'll buy little this, but it wasn't like a me really going into, okay, so I want to have this, okay, I want us to do that. I don't know, it wasn't really intentional. And I think hosting for a lot of people can just be very fun, especially for my girlies that are very like micromanaging. No shade, but like you want to manage everything. You want things to be how you want it to be, and you want da 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 da. That's great. host your own events. I feel like that would be, I feel like hosting is I don't know, it's one of those things that like people don't think about if it's not like something that's big. Like I'm not hosting a big thing, but like that could be a hobby, and maybe it's something that you do every so often. Like I said, hobbies don't have to be every single day. It can be something where every holiday, you know, you host Galentine, you host Easter, if that's what you want to do. You could host Cinco de Mayo. You can host, like, there's so many different things. Juneteenth. You can host like these holidays that aren't really sometimes even real holidays, like whatever the case may be. Just start hosting, and it's just really cute for you to do. And I don't know. So hosting is definitely be a hobby for some people. The next one is refurbishing furniture or DIYing renter-friendly things. So if you have like an apartment or whatever, or you're renting a place out and you can't do permanent things, I definitely recommend to do this. And going into first the refurbishing furniture, my boss actually does this. He's one of those people that goes out to like a thrift store or something like that, and he'll buy something that's old and then refurbish it and make it nice. And some people resell it. Some people literally just keep it in their house. I think he literally just keeps it all in his house. Now that one you definitely probably need more space for if you're like buying and doing all the other stuff. But another way to kind of refurbish furniture, I would say, is even, for example, right, if you guys see the bookshelf that's back there. So when I move out of this place, I'm moving very far compared to here. So I do have to kind of get like all new furniture. I'm not planning on bringing anything, honestly. But nonetheless, I'm thinking about, even for my new place, right? I want to get something like that. But for my new place, I probably will, if you guys can see, the boards are brown, like a dark brown, and then the bars itself are like a black. For my new place, what I plan on doing, getting something very similar, but I probably try to get the bars to be a silver. Hopefully I can find that, like a steel kind of color, and the boards are going to be whatever color. My next place, y'all can steal the idea if y'all want to, but it's gonna look better than it sounds, so maybe I might not steal it. But I plan on painting the wood white and then splattering it with just different colors of paint. For my new place, I definitely want to have more color. I want the base of a lot of stuff to be white, but then I want to have like just random colors and things like that, shapes and just different things everywhere. Nonetheless, that's kind of like a refurbishing of furniture. Is taking something that I already have, but just being a little bit more creative with it. Another thing I've seen people do is even with mirrors, like the border that a lot of mirrors have, I've seen people put like different kinds of stickers on them, or they have bedazzled them, or different things like that. So I think that's one thing to do, like things that you already have in your home. Of course you could buy new things, but just figure out, how can I personalize this a bit? Can I paint this? Can I, dust this? Can I shine this? Can I, whatever the case may be. Another one too is definitely renter friendly DIY things. So there's kind of like wallpaper you can put, right? You can put like different wallpapers that you can peel off. I've seen individuals even have, what have I seen? I've seen people, now I don't know how this works, 'cause I'm thinking about walking on it, but I've seen this girl have carpet and then she put this thing on top of it to actually make it wood inside of her house. But it was renter friendly, so she literally can take it off after. But then just doing different DIY projects. And so this is actually one that I did. Ugh. If you guys can see, it says only get one life. Okay. And if you guys can't see, it's actually very textured. So the entire thing has like this texture kind of thing to it. That's hanging inside of my bathroom. I made that. Thought about putting some color on it, but whatever. Nonetheless, just making little art things, like just making little art things for your house that are very like DIY, do it yourself. I got all of this from Michael's. I put the textures on it. I painted it, all that other stuff. So just looking into things like that you may see, or you may see people post, you're like, oh, I really want that, but I can't afford that. Well, you possibly can create it yourself. Now, the next one, this one I would say low-key is more for like the fashion people, or people who want to be into fashion. I actually kind of brought them up in my last episode too of hobbies, so I don't know what that means for me. But go into your favorite store, or go into like stores that you think are like cool, they have, nice stuff here and there, and challenge yourself to create nice outfits. I feel like this is great because nowadays everyone says the malls have nothing, the malls have nothing. And I feel like can bring out a creativity in a lot of people of challenging yourself to literally create outfits like out of what the store has. I feel like for a lot of people too that say, I want a fashion line, or I want to be in fashion, or I want to start dressing a bit differently. Like, I'm tired of the way I dress. Okay, start doing that. You don't have anything to do. You don't have to even spend money, honestly. Go to the mall, go to, you know, whatever, a nice store, a store that you like, and literally try to create different outfits. And I feel like this is also great to figure out what fits you and what doesn't. I feel like what messes up some people, even myself, is that sometimes you can see something nice and think that it'll look good on you just because it's nice. And it's like, yeah, that looks nice on her, but she's 5'7" and you're 5'1", so I don't think it's gonna look the same. But I don't know, start doing that. Like, I think sometimes too, people feel like, well, I can't go to the mall if I'm not spending money, and I have to spend money, and I have to da 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 da. But it's like, this is the perfect time, because now you're not gonna waste your money on outfits that don't look nice on you. Now you're not gonna waste your money on clothes that don't really fit you, because now you've taken the time to literally curate an entire closet for yourself, and you don't even have to purchase anything yet. I know some people are gonna feel some way though. I know, like, sometimes it can be daunting, like, oh, I'm going back into the dressing room and I ain't buying nothing. But don't worry about what people think about you, because they're not paying your bills. But start doing that. Start just going to the store and challenging yourself to create outfits out of what the store has. And the final one, and this is a bit of a DIY one too, I guess you could say, but bedazzled paintings. This is one that I saw on TikTok around like 2 years ago, and I hadn't seen it for a little while, but I think this one is great as well, especially for my girls that are like really girly girls, and you really like to have like the whole bedazzled thing and that whole sparkly whatever, bedazzled paintings. And so the way I've seen these done before is you can buy a painting, something that's already, you know, done, and you can just bedazzle it. I've seen people even trace things onto there and then bedazzle it. I guess it all depends on like your creativity level, but I feel like this is something that is very time consuming. I definitely probably could tell you that one, but I feel like it's something that's so cute and it's just so creative, and it's just a way to add a little bit of pizzazz to something that you already have. Like, it's already a painting that you have, or it's already a painting itself. It's already a picture itself, and now it's creating a little bit of more texture to it, and then also it's creating just your own personality. And I feel like looking at things like that when you walk into people's house kind of gives you a bit of a more understanding of the kind of person they are. And I don't know, I think all in all, hobbies are just to help you curate your life the way you want them to be, figure out things that you like. And so doing things like that can just give you just a little bit more things to do, but then also figure out, you know, how you want your space to look. So those are all of the hobbies. Thank you guys so much for watching my video. If you haven't already, definitely check out part 1, because this is part 2. And if you are still here, comment below. Oh, not comment below, sorry. Go below and sign up for my newsletter, because I'm going to start coming back out with my monthly newsletter. And also go to my TikTok. I will comment that below as well. I'm posting on TikTok again. I actually created a whole new TikTok. If you're familiar with my old one, you know, my old account, it still might be up, but we're not using that no more. So I've started a whole new TikTok, so please go follow me on there, and that will be linked below. So thank y'all so much, and have a great one.